Aloha, I'm Felicia Miller Johnson, and I conduct work life video interviews with career professionals that become an all intuitive conversation. Aloha, I'm Felicia Miller Johnson, and I am here to encourage individuals like you, me, and my guests to live smart and ascend to new levels of work life success. Today, I have the pleasure of connecting with Lauren. I would say I was definitely intrigued when I saw her LinkedIn profile because some of the things she shared was about spirituality, traveling all over the world as an Airbnb specialist, and so I'm excited to learn a little bit more about her. So let's bring her to the screen. There we go. Aloha, Lauren.
Hey, Felicia, thanks so much for having me on.
It is a pleasure. Like I said, when I saw your profile, and when you, a lot of times people send me information of, hey, this is, they're used to having to send like this whole kind of like bio information about being a guest. And I was like, oh, this is going to be intriguing because I too am in real estate and midterm rentals and have this spiritual aspect as well. So I was like, oh, this is going to be like twin souls kind of just connecting and vibing. But you and I have not spoken before. And so tell me like right now, with you doing all the travels, where are you sitting today?
So, I currently live in a really magical place in the heart of Brazil. It's actually a national park, and it's the largest piece of quartz crystal on the planet. So, when I go hiking here, I'm just picking up crystals, and 70% of Brazil's fresh water comes from the springs here. So, we're called kind of like the cradle of crystal water of Brazil. It's called Chapada dos Veadeiros.
Oh wow. Okay, so that makes sense because today I was drawn to. I usually have something that connects me with my guests, and I had an amethyst crystal here today with your energy. So I'm like, okay, and like I said, it looks like this whole little mountain rock thing. So um, we are already up there for sure. But that's not where you're born and raised, right?
Yeah, I was tapping into your shows last night and I heard you mention the Bible Belt. I also grew up in Virginia, right in the heart of the Confederacy. So it's been a long journey, can I
Mm-hmm.
say? It's been a long journey to step into my psychic abilities, to really study and learn and give myself permission to express them,
Mm-hmm.
because that wasn't really the upbringing that I had growing up in Virginia. I'm glad you brought the amethyst. I actually slept with a big amethyst last night. It said, "I want to snuggle with you," and then I had
Of course
crazy
you did.
dreams all night.
Well, of course you do. Well, the amethyst is still connected with it because I was like, that was the crystal that I was drawn to. And then what already has come out is the one of coins, but of this young lady. And as you talked about this long journey up to this house, and it says, a windfall of abundance, wise counsel, or good fortune, an exciting career opportunity, a lucrative contract, significant purchases like a home or a vehicle. And so, what I'm drawn to is the whole exciting career opportunity. Like I initially said in the very beginning, the life that you're living sounds very much like a dream. Like, can you really do that? So, to encourage others that may be thinking like, yeah, right. Tell us more about your career and just this lifestyle that you have built for yourself, that journey.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up because I just started a TikTok show and I'm doing some audio courses and video courses to teach other people how to do Airbnb hosting and really step out of the 9 to 5 and step into their power. And I found pretty much half my episodes are speaking to that you can do this, you will do this, it is possible. And that's really my mission, is to kind of tell my story and let people know, like, hey, just these are the steps, and
Mm-hmm.
then you too can do this. So, I mean, to tell my story kind of in a nutshell, I went traveling when I was 14 to Europe with my school, and I immediately knew I would be a world traveler. So
Hmm.
every decision that I've made since then, like I studied graphic design so I could work on my computer, and I've just always put my main priority as world travel. So when I found Airbnb hosting, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I can
Hmm.
just be nice to people, make a clean, comfortable space, and then just like, build a nice team of trustworthy, reliable individuals. That takes a little bit of time to finesse that. But then I can keep traveling and be a remote host. So I can say it was kind of step by step. But it is so achievable. And as you know from your journey, real estate is incredibly profitable. So if you need to print money, short-term rentals is really like the fastest path to wealth that I've seen,
That
where
fast
you
path, gold path, the golden path of life. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
this is my message. This is my message. And in 2018, I realized, like, oh my gosh, I've just achieved so much freedom and wealth by doing this. I didn't own any properties. I found property owners and then I took a percentage. I was like, hey, I'll help you make more money. I'll do everything for free, but you just give me a percentage. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of struck these deals in Southern California. And then, like, I feel like I hacked the system. So I wrote a book and I published it on Amazon. It's called Airbnb Beginner's Guide to Hosting: How to Set Up and Run Your Own Airbnb Business. And it is literally just a manual for that. So I just wanted to like give people this information because it's, as you kind of know, a lot of people are working jobs that they don't want. They've never
Mm-hmm.
had an encouraging voice. Like, there's more out there. Just, like there's a lot of salesy marketing stuff that's kind of like, gimmicky. And so I have
Yep.
found it a little bit challenging to find my voice in presenting this without sounding like, here's the ticket to freedom you always wanted, like, here's the financial independence secret recipe. But it literally is that. So
So, thing that came up was freedom, and the oil is inspiring, and this is what it says: the trigger. I have no choice. A lot of individuals feel like they may be working in careers where they don't have this choice, right? But the true statement says, I create my day, my life, which is what exactly you have done. You created your days and how you want to live and how you want to travel. You've created your life. And it says, it's time to play. Do something different today to shift your routine. So encouraging individuals like, hey, what can we do differently? But like you said, what I'm hearing, well, like I said, that challenge of how do you not sound like, yeah, where people have this doubt. Like I said, the whole, I'm like, yeah, right. Because like I said, like, can you really do that? But then the next card that also came out had the theme of balance. And the trigger, it says, no one understands me. Yeah, no one understands that I live this life where I'm traveling and I don't even have to own these properties. I'm working with these individuals and I'm helping them to make money. Like, nobody gets that because they're not used to that. Because oftentimes we are used to the grind and the hustle of you have to work some safe, for me, some safe kind of government job, and that's the only way to make money. But the true statement on your card says, I ask for what I need. From a place of love, you need to stand up and speak your truth. What you wish for is what the universe wishes for you. So the phrase that sticks out here for you, that saying is standing up and speaking your truth. So you kind of hint at a little bit having this reservation about like, how do I not come off like gimmicky? Tell me a little bit more about your truth in that area.
yeah, I mean, I would say, like, I mean, how can I say it simply? When
Mm-hmm.
you've done something yourself, you've literally started at step one and you've achieved to step 100. You feel so confident and so sure that if you can do it, anyone can do it, right? And
Right.
I don't have an engineering degree. I didn't start with a trust fund. So for me, it's like, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And I'm so sure of
Mm.
that. They just need kind of the secret sauce, the secret recipe, which to me as an expert feels very intuitive and very simple. But I've
Mm-hmm.
realized as I've started to teach on my channel and in my course that I do need to break it down more simply. So what I'm kind of promising in my teaching and with this path to wealth is like, If you make this a priority and you put in the effort and you let yourself be guided by an expert step by step, financial independence is freedom is really the only outcome possible.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I'm holding is like follow these strategies, believe in yourself, shift your priority into putting effort and energy and belief in yourself in this,
Mm-hmm.
and you're kind of guaranteed success because it is like a recipe, I
Mm-hmm.
design it to be clean, I write my
Yes.
listing in a way that travelers can connect to. I give good customer service and exceed expectations by giving a little extra something something in the Airbnb property, and
Yes.
then I make myself available. I find amazing cleaners, and I really dedicate myself to kind of caring that the traveler has everything they need and my rental experience is optimized.
Yes.
And as a full-time traveler, like for me, it's automatic because I know what I look for in a listing, and I know
Mm.
what I look for. I know what a red flag is, on a place.
Well, it's interesting because the other card that came up here is this King of Knights. But it's like sitting here of like how to romance the individuals, like what they are looking for in a place to stay. But it's like as soon as you mentioned here this whole like red flag, which is AKA this like this red blanket, like okay, like yeah, you have the red and the roses, and you have the red flag. So what is a red flag that people should look for to avoid maybe someone that's not genuinely sincere in offering
Exact.
something?
Definitely. So photography on an Airbnb listing, I'd say, is kind of like the main point.
Okay.
If you have blurry photos, too many photos, like dimly lit kind of, photos of a corner, this is
Mm-hmm.
basically telling the traveler, like, I'm a really sketchy person and you're not guaranteed a smooth vacation in my place.
Mm-hmm.
I would say also the way they describe the listing, like, so if you use all caps or you have incorrect punctuation, again,
Mm-hmm.
this is just a kind of signal. I'm not really professional. I don't really know what I'm doing. You're rolling the dice when you book with me.
So not necessarily, as I say, a place you want to probably hang your hat at. Could be some flags for that. So you mentioned this spiritual side as well. So the next thing that came up for the cards was I went to a shamanic deck because you used the word shaman in your area. And it talks about altar, and this is what it says. An altar is a setting with a sacred physical object that supports a spiritual focus. Set aside an area in your home or yard and create an altar as a sacred space that encourages your spirituality and shamanic work. Your thoughts and intentions are focused and powerful. My altar is a blessing that provides spiritual substance. So the thing that stood out here for me is the wording of set aside an area in your home and the fact that you have these places where people can live as a temporary home. So tell me, how do you intertwine your spiritual side, shamanic self into your business?
Well, that's a fantastic question. And now that you've asked that, I feel like it's a kind of a divine prompt for me to see how I can cross more in. I'm actually really interested in your feedback on this point because as
Mm-hmm.
of now, my psychic work and my shamanic work and my spiritual life, as I grew up in the Bible Belt, this has always kind of been like a private thing, a more of a private thing
Mm-hmm.
that I keep away from my business because I know from my entire life experience that a lot of these topics about spiritual guides or being a medium or connecting with, let's say, Palladians, is a little bit too far out for the average person.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, like, my prayer, my talking with my guides every day, getting downloads from my higher self on what's the task at hand today, how can I serve spirit today. Spirit is really the one that told me that I need to do this Airbnb work because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
don't you want me just like reading tarot cards and like, doing this spiritual stuff since I have these gifts? But Spirit said, no, like we need you to teach the people how to become financially independent so they have the luxurious space, energetic space to be creative and to do that deep soul journey inside. As you know, the rat race kind of says, where is your time to ponder? I mean, when you're in survival, you don't have time to ponder how you can
Yep.
access your higher self. So
Yes.
yeah. So I would say Spirit is definitely driving the train on all of these. As of now, I keep my passion for shamanic and kind of mediumship. I keep that kind of separate. But my big passion is to be able to bring that into my Airbnb teaching. I just
Hmm.
don't want to edit down my audience so dramatically if I start speaking these interdimensional galactic things with my audience. What do you
Hmm.
think?
Okay. So the card that came out here is the theme talks about restore. The trigger says, I am broken. True statements, I am illuminated. As you release your attachment to the high and low, you find peace and balance, which goes back to here, theme of the balance. And it says, honor the cycles of your body and your energy now. So I will say, sharing my story a little bit about when I started coaching, generally speaking, it was just traditional life coaching, right? Operating from my experience as, having an MBA, careers, leadership jobs, like all those different things. And then eventually the spirit team came along and said, hey, okay, now we need for you to come out of the spiritual room closet. And I'm like, because I was in this phase where one of my positions had kind of closed. And I mean, I was applying for like everything and nothing was kind of coming through, which kind of helped me to do some of my shadow work. Like I placed all of my identity so much in the careers that I had and the money that I made. So then that was all kind of like stripped away. And they were saying, like, well, who are you now? Who are you to your core? Who are without your quote unquote job titles? And so then they led me to say, okay, well, Felicia, do this show with career professionals and do it on LinkedIn. And I'm like, I don't know. Like what happens? I may eventually go back to a traditional job. And now if I'm doing all these different things that spiritual work and all this, like people are going to be like, no, no, thank you. Because remember, I'm still living in the Bible Belt. Right. And so I tap danced all around it. Like, went to like just do YouTube or what was it, Instagram live. Like, I'm just gonna do all that. And they're like, no. I even had like a different name of what I talk about, Live Smart. I was like, that's safer, right? Like people, I mean, and they're like, no, call it what it is. And so it became all intuitive conversation. And so since then, as people will find, as you will find, that once I did that, it has just tremendously just flowed, right? As people be surprised to know that if they would come and guest, they would find that I have like a 5 month waiting list, easy and flow without me having to do things. So it was like, oh, okay, so I guess I'm aligning with the people that you want me to connect with. But here was the next challenge that I had, Lauren, in sharing that story is that I then struggled with seeing, okay, is this supposed to be where all my financial abundance is supposed to come from? Because there was a moment like I had such a weight. I was like, well, okay, well, I'll, charge if somebody wants to quote unquote, as they say it, as traditional coach would say, if they want to break the line, charge this amount of fee and da da da. I think I did that like 3 times and I couldn't do it anymore because I was like, I felt as though I had to give something else to my guest, right? That something was missing. So I was like, that's not it. And so then I became into real estate. And it was like, oh, okay. Like that is my quote unquote another way of financial independence and freedom and doing that, right? But then this show, I still do this freely. I'm still connected with individuals. So they were separate in that sense. But then it became, well, do you hide the spiritual aspect of your place and what I'm doing for real estate? So I was talking with the individual that was is. like a Christian, and we would kind of have this whole conversation about this. And I was somewhat reluctant to say, well, I should say not reluctant. I was reserved in the sense of how are they going to feel knowing what I do and being this whole Christian. And this is how that conversation played out. It was I was my authentic self, shared who I was, and it became a conversation of it was like I'll never go on your show because I'm a crier and I've heard people cry have cried on your show before. But then it became a conversation about in our homes because they also did real estate investing as well. They were like, "Hey, I had this guest that was talking about, they had saw a ghost or whatever, and what do I kind of do about that?" And so, and it was like, oh, we start having this conversation about how you sage your place and clear the energy space and the difference between, yes, there are spirits, and but this is what you kind of do. And she literally said, well, now I know who to call. And that was an aha moment for me of, well, yeah, like if someone's individuals are looking for that, of like their space and their energy and how they can handle that, they then now had someone they can connect to. But it wasn't something that I was advertising, but it helped me to feel comfortable in the sense of I can still be my authentic self in what I do in my business side as well. And hey, if that becomes a specialty that people contact me like, well, this is what I'm sensing or what am I feeling or, energetically, how do I clean this home? Then you can guide people in that way. So all that to say is not necessarily how you have to promote or advertise or scare, but just be encouraged that this is who I am. This is how I do. Like the things that you do in your home in your space is like, can you bring that element into the places that you're renting? If that makes sense. You understand?
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Because the other addition to it is that we are out there. And so let's just say you have 10 properties, right? And one in particular just suits itself for that. We travel, we go to different places. Like I may love to be in a place that has crystals and amethyst that's in this space. Like, oh, okay, they get me. Like I can stay there. So maybe it's you choose one place where that's what the feature is. It doesn't have to be all of them, but it could potentially be that property of, hey, this is a place that, if you believe in spirituality, you're welcome here in this particular one.
Definitely. And I had that for a while in Los Angeles where I was running
Mm,
all these Airbnbs. My
mm-hmm.
personal home was like the spiritual, Buddha garden in
Yes.
Hollywood. It was for creatives and this kind of thing. And it attracted the spiritually beautiful open souls that are still some of my greatest friends today. That I ran for a few years. But with the
Yes.
particular, career path that I'm on right now, that's being a consultant, a specialist, a
Mm,
teacher. So now I'm just focusing on teaching, making courses, mentoring, and
okay.
guiding others. And I think that's where the desire to I mean, it's always right, that's just like a light worker imprint, like to the persecution that has been notorious throughout history of witches, nah? So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like in the energetic grid. But beyond that, it's like, you know I'm reaching out to people and saying, hey, I want to hold your hand and walk you to a life that you love. I want to
Yep.
hold your hand and walk you to a life of freedom and financial independence. And like you said, that message has been so used, people are like, I don't really believe you.
Mm. Yes.
Like, I don't know if it's possible for me. I don't know if it's possible. So my kind of messaging, I've kind of tried a few different things, but I'm really seeking to kind of contact the souls and being like, let's like, try on a different pair of pants. Let's see if they fit.
So the connection. So I was like, okay, so I want to tap into my Egyptian side, and so the one that came out and they connected with you was Mut, and the
Nice.
phrase of that says "be ordinary." So you're being encouraged to maybe do a little research on this particular goddess, and how it says being ordinary, but how do you really be ordinary? How can you be more extraordinary with that. And so next is kind of tapping into, well, your gateway of lights. You're a light being, and how you can continue to be that example for individuals. And also, you're getting Hawthorne.
Oh, I love her.
Yes, light codes. And it says here light immersion, full system upgrade, and power recall. So those two, and which, are you into Egyptian at all?
I'm super into Egyptian. I've actually been to the Hathor temple in Egypt. It was extraordinary. I'm super into. I was actually reading about Mott last night in one of my goddess books. So we're right on point here.
Okay. So then they're right back with you, because I was like, these are two totally different decks. So you already being there for the goddess of being ordinary, and Hathor for the light codes. Tag back into those goddesses, because evidently they're gonna be able to help you with this whole teaching and encouraging. So
Can you share a bit more? What does it mean by be ordinary? And which goddess was that?
so Mutt is
Oh,
19.
Mott. Got it.
Uh-huh. On being ordinary. And so the reality, the feeling, the message that's coming through here is that you're not ordinary. Your places are not ordinary. The way that you teach is not ordinary. You're not.
I
So
know.
so it's like you're denying yourself, and to think
Yeah.
that your teaching or how you connect with individuals is going to align with that. That's why you're not connecting with the whole verbiage of how other people feel, right? And so it's use the language that resonates with you, releasing the fear that, okay, if I say it this way, I'm gonna sound scammy, or it's gonna like run off people. You gave your own example, like you had a place, and there are individuals like us that are out there that want to know this. And so, yes, we get that you don't want to limit, but at the same time, we've also had the other phrase where people say, if you just keep it generic, ordinary, you're
Yeah.
really reaching no one,
Yeah.
right? Um,
Thank you. Thank you deeply. Thank you deeply for this session.
you're so welcome. So yeah, so as what's it saying? Hmm. Okay. So, being read to lead this paragraph. In this gateway, Hathor is the figurehead of an intergalactic race of beings called the Hathors. There's a good chance that the ancient Egyptians were in touch with this divine race, as evidenced by the many Hathor pillars of the Temple of Diandra. The Hathors appear as elongated pillars of infinite light, illustrating their capacity to bridge heaven and earth. Their divine mission is to activate light upon the earth, interlinked with both the energy of the central sun and Venus. They bestow solar light beings and ignite the energy of unconditional love within. When you receive this light card, know you are ushering into great blessings. So, Lauren, go out, do your work. I mean, from the amethyst, your Egyptian spirit guides, to your path of goldenness. You're doing great things. So for those individuals that like say, yes, I want to learn more from Lauren and how she's operating Airbnbs, where can people reach you?
Awesome. So they can reach me on TikTok or Instagram. It's Airbnb underscore big money. And I think that would probably be the best place.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on All Intuitive Conversation and sharing your insight and wisdom to encourage people to live smart and send to new levels of success. If you are interested in being in a guest, please do not be dismayed by the time wait limit. There may be a guest, because as I say, it is divine timing when you and I connect here live. But just go ahead and send me a direct message on LinkedIn, and you can visit the website All Intuitive Conversation. And until we meet again, this has been an All Intuitive Conversation.